Hello, and welcome to my final project, Haunted Trail Projection Mapping by Natasha Clement. So the idea for this project was to enhance objects using extended reality at an event. There was a haunted trail going on, and myself and two others went out and used projection mapping to bring to life different objects along the trail, so it would give people going through the trail more to enjoy. When I began researching this idea, my first questions would be, what would I be projecting on the objects, and also how would I be able to make it interactive in real time? And while I was looking into the different inspirations on how I could possibly do my project, I saw a lot of projection mapping on houses, but that's really not what I wanted. I wanted just kind of on objects, but Halloween themed. So I was trying to find like a kind of mix between projection mapping and Halloween that did not involve houses, but just single objects. And what I found pretty much was had pictured in my slide here. And I was also found some ideas for how I could possibly make it interactive. One way I thought of was to possibly find a way to make the projection triggered by a motion sensor, so when someone would walk by, it would activate the projection. So this is the equipment I used, and so I used a projector, an iPad, HDMI cord, an Apple adapter, extension cord, and a iPad charging cord. So here's my setup and kind of where I set up. We pretty much were at the end of the trail, so we were kind of the last thing people would see, and so people would come out of here and see our projections. And for the object I chose to do my projection on, it was a pot. It was kind of supposed to represent like a witch's pot. And I set up my projector and connected it to the iPad using the HDMI cord and Apple adapter. The iPad also had to be plugged in when working the projector, because if it wasn't, then the iPad wouldn't go through to the projector. We also had to run an extension cord up to the spot where we were set up because we're out kind of in nature, so pretty much we really didn't have outlets out there, so we had to run an extension cord from the house to where we were, which wasn't that far, but it was still a bit of a distance. And so I used an app called Dynamapper to do my projection and to map out the pot, and I used an animation that I found on the app that could represent fire. I did have to do a little bit of tweaking to it to make it actually look like fire. All I think I had to do was really change the color, because I think it originally was purple, and so I had to change it to the orange color just to represent fire. So this project worked the way we wanted it to, but it wasn't interactive. And so people would walk by, but they really wouldn't actually interact with it. And I have a video here of the projection in full. So during this project, I ran into an issue of it, as I mentioned, of it not being as interactive as I would have liked it to be. So I came up with some ideas to fix this problem. One way that I thought of, that I mentioned earlier, was to add motion sensors to the projector, and when someone walked by it, the projection would come on. But with this idea, you really couldn't tell who was activating the projection, especially if there was groups of people. And during this event, I think they went in groups of 2 through the trail, so they couldn't really tell who was actually, they wouldn't be able to tell who would actually be setting off the motion sensor for the projection to trigger. And so another idea I had was to have the projection going, but people interacting with the pot that the fire is being projected on. So that we could possibly have someone putting something in the pot or in the witch's brew, and once someone puts something in, some type of motion activated smoke machine, or something kind of similar to that, or something that just kind of spewed smoke, And so we could then be able to add projections to the smoke to kind of make it more lifelike, or kind of lifelike, or more magical and like creepy and spooky and all that. So those are kind of my ideas to how I could possibly make this more interactive. And thank you for your time.